So Borderlands 3 is getting a brand new hotfix patch, and of course we also have the Bloody Harvest event coming up today, and it's all going to happen really soon, before 3 PM Pacific Daylight Time today. And Gearbox also came in with some really exciting news about the upcoming fixes, as well as some of the stuff that they are preparing for the future, and it definitely looks really cool. So let's jump right in with everything you need to know, and of course some of the stuff that has been posted in the past few minutes. So of course, first of all, we have added support for the Bloody Harvest event, which is going to start from today, October 24th, and it's going to end on December 5th. This is the Halloween event. If you didn't see it already, if you don't know the details, I'm going to post some links down below, but it's definitely really cool. There's a new boss, new area. During the event, the main menu will also now become spooky when the micro patch has loaded and the event content is available. And I actually really like this because it kind of gives you an idea that the patch is installed and it's active on your gameplay. So definitely a big plus on that. Now moving over some of the stability changes, I'm not going to go over all of these, only over the ones that I found most important, but they have reportedly fixed a number of crashes, for example when loading into maps, when level transitioning immediately after throwing a longbow grenade, certain crashes after completing certain missions, or when swapping on equipped weapons. As far as general changes go, we have a bunch of these for consoles, including Mayhem mode is now available in true Vault Hunter mode on consoles. There's the added photo mode support for the consoles, and of course the EchoCast Twitch extension, most probably for the Twitch event that should be dropping really soon. Of course, they also added new Vault Hunter customizations and trinkets, and they didn't go into any details over here, but I'm really curious what this is. They also added the ability to specify Mayhem mode when matchmaking, and I think this should help a lot of people out, especially those who didn't play since day one, who are still transitioning, and who might not get the chance to straight up jump into Mayhem 3 or at the highest difficulties. Another pretty important one that I'm surprised took Gearbox so long to fix is the volume of the 2K and Gearbox logo intro movie when you start up the game. So it seems that this is going to be adjusted with today's patch, and again, so surprised that it took them this long to actually fix this, but I guess it's better later rather than never. They also addressed a reported concern where some players were missing skill points, and on top of this there's also a dozen or so changes for very specific bugs that were happening with certain missions and when using certain functionalities of the game. I'm not going to go over that because these are not that important. I'm just going to go into the next section, and we are going to go over some of the weapon changes over here. The only weapon change, as a matter of fact, which comes to the flakker, and it now consumes 1 ammo instead of the 5. So it seems that this was either a bug or a reverted change to the previous hotfix that made the flakker to actually consume all of your ammo. So I'm not really sure if this is a direct buff or at the very least revert on some of the nerfs that have been applied to the weapon, but I guess it's just a few more hours until we get to test that. As far as other bug fixes go, space laser tag, which prevented some players from progressing to the next objective, has been fixed. Atomic has been modified to no longer become invincible. Modified powerhouse heavy's attacks to no longer damage players outside of the intended range. Addressed the concern that projected shields were taking too much damage from General Trump's attacks. Increased checkpoint size of new use stations in multiple locations, and they've included a modification so that Zane's digiclone will no longer spawn into the cage in Slaughter Star 3000. So these are all of the notes for this patch, but Gearbox also came in with some plans for the future, and they are pretty damn good, I'm not going to lie. Some of them are of course expected, but a few of them are definitely on my priority list, and I'm actually glad that Gearbox is listening to our feedback. So of course the game performance and stability is going to be one of their top priorities. They are pretty much focusing on that right now according to this note over here, and the next time we should see a big performance and stability bump should be in their upcoming November patch with various improvements game-wide. As far as the bank size increase goes, this has been discussed for at least a couple of weeks, and there are some plans over here in order to extend it not only once, but actually it seems that Gearbox is actually planning to expand this in several batches. So at the current time, the groundwork for expanding the bank has already started according to Gearbox, and the first of several planned planned expansions will coincide with the release of the takedown at Maliwan's Black Site. Now, for those who don't know, the Maliwan takedown is basically the next free content update that is going to be brought into the game after the Bloody Harvest event. We have the Bloody Harvest event, which is one of the first free content updates, and the Maliwan takedown is going to follow after that. And according to Gearbox, we should expect a significant bank expansion that will more than double the existing space. Additional expansions to the bank will continue to be rolled out over future releases, so even after the next patch is going to drop with the content update, we are still going to be given bank expansions, and hopefully that will increase even more, hopefully to like 1,000 or maybe even more. Now, we've talked about this very briefly in a very early video I made on Borderlands 3, but I'm actually very glad that Gearbox is considering actual dedicated loot pools. I've talked about this when I made a video about Queen's Call and King's Call, and I actually really like the idea of having to fight the strongest boss in the game to actually get its specific weapon. In that case, you would have to fight Tyreen the Destroyer to actually get Queen's Call or King's Call, which is the thematic weapon of that boss and that character, and that is something that I actually liked. Now, the only thing over here that kinda worries me is the fact that Gearbox is mentioning finding gear more easily in the game. It shouldn't be too easy for you to get and acquire gear in this game, but it should definitely feel rewarding for the encounters that you're doing. So for example, if you're going against a boss knowing that he or she drops a certain type of loot, then Gearbox should do something to incentivize exactly that. Currently, their only stance is that they're still working out which bosses get which gear right now, and expect this to be ready as part of the November patch as well, so this isn't going to drop with the Bloody Harvest, but I'm really glad that Gearbox is actually taking this into consideration. As far as character buffs, of course, this is a discussion that we long had. Gearbox is planning to make more builds more viable, as well as more of the companions more viable, especially Moses Iron Bear, Flex Pets, and Zane's Digiclone or Sentinels. These are all really underpowered, they are not performing as well as Gearbox expected, and of course these are going to get even more buffs in the future. So to address these, according to the statement, they're looking at how to adjust damage according to the relevant skills and gear, and the goal here is to make sure that they have as many viable character builds as possible. Moving on though, another very important subject of discussion is of course Mayhem Mode 2.0 and additional Mayhem levels. So according to Gearbox, we are going to get a Mayhem Mode 4, and this is going to be on top of Mayhem Mode 3. It's going to be significantly more challenging when it debuts, and there's going to be way tougher enemies that reward players with highly synergized character builds. But a new batch of legendary gear will also only drop while in Mayhem 4 to reward those players who are truly up for the challenge, and this is all actually exciting news. I believe that Mayhem 3 right now, the way it is quite unchallenging. It's pretty damn easy. If you get a proper build, you can definitely take that down. Of course, with a few differences here and there, because certain characters and builds can do it easier than others. Longer term, they also have plans to completely overhaul the Mayhem mode with more UI support, new Mayhem modifiers that change gameplay more dramatically, Mayhem playlists, new rewards, and additional levels of Mayhem to work through. So expect a big reveal and more details on Mayhem 2.0 way closer to its release. But in the meantime, we can only speculate how this is going to be. It definitely sounds all exciting. I think that the modifiers, the way they are currently in the game, are really unexciting. They are just straight out buffs or nerfs. They aren't really that interesting. They don't really change your gameplay that much, and if they do, you can just reload your game and pretty much be done with it. But there are so many missed opportunities that Gearbox isn't taking with the Mayhem modifiers, so really looking forward to Mayhem 2.0. As far as quality of life features go, we have vending machines added in multiple places. It seems that a lot of players have complained about the lack of vending machines in certain maps. For example, Athena's, Atlas HQ, Skywell 27, Electra City, Jacob's Estate, and so on. All of these right here really only had like one of these vending machines, which made it really annoying to go in, go back at the beginning of the map and resupply yourself with ammunition and grenades. So this is definitely a good change, especially for Athena's. They should make farming Athena's way easier. So looking forward to this change as well. Skippable cinematics is also something into talks, though it seems that there is a technical problem over here that prevented them to add it so far in the first place. So it seems that under the hood the game may activate activate critical events based on these cinematics. So in order to make sure that the mission progression isn't negatively impacted, they need to inspect each of these cinematics and make sure that these events will work correctly if you skip them. Moving on to the target dummies, this is another great point of discussion. This is something that all of the previous games, or most of the previous games, already had. Borderlands 2 definitely had it, so yeah, there should be an easier way to test your DPS in Borderlands 3. The only way you can do it right now on Sanctuary 3, or at the very least one of the ways, is to go at the bottom level and spawn a car and test your DPS on that, but even that is unreliable. So they're going to add a target dummy to the shooting range on Sanctuary 3, and this way we can both manage and test our builds without ever having to leave that place, and it definitely sounds really damn good, but this is only going to drop sometimes in December, so quite a long time until that happens. So yeah, the future definitely looks bright, a lot of player feedback over here that is taken into account. But yeah, let me know down below what you think about this, what is your opinion on these patch notes. Are you excited for the future of Borderlands 3, or do you think there are still problems that Gearbox should be considering that haven't been talked already? Let me know down below, and in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up on it would be super appreciated. Also subscribe and activate the notification bell if you want to see more of these, and I'll see you guys soon.